In the noisy flow of modern life, where the sounds of traffic, social networks, phones, and countless information streams overwhelm us every day, people often fall into states of fatigue and stress. We are used to talking a lot to prove our presence, thinking a lot to try to control everything, and socializing a lot to seek recognition. Yet, from the perspective of wisdom, these three seemingly necessary actions have turned into invisible burdens, sweeping the mind away and making it difficult to find peace. In that context, the teaching of Thay Min Neem about speaking less, thinking less, and socializing less appears like a guiding light, showing the path back to simplicity and inner peace. Speaking less does not mean complete silence or becoming cold and distant. It is about learning to choose words carefully, reducing unnecessary, meaningless, or hurtful speech. When we speak less, we listen more, we feel more. A single word spoken with mindfulness has greater value than 100 uttered in haste. Speaking less creates opportunities for each sound we make to become a meaningful bridge of connection rather than meaningless noise. Thinking less does not mean abandoning thought or becoming ignorant, but stopping the endless spirals of the mind. Modern humans often overuse the brain, chasing assumptions, worries, and endless imaginings. This drains energy and destroys the ability to enjoy the present. Thinking less means guiding the mind only toward what is truly necessary, freeing it from useless preoccupations. Thinking less allows clarity, lightness, and the emergence of true wisdom. Socializing less does not mean completely withdrawing from society, but choosing relationships and interactions wisely. In an era where expanding networks is seen as a measure of success, many rush into endless meetings, parties, and connections, but end up drained of energy and even lose themselves. Socializing less means cherishing genuine relationships, where there is real listening and companionship, rather than superficiality or calculation. Fewer social interactions create space to nurture the inner world, to maintain enough energy to live authentically with ourselves and with others. Thay Min Neem often emphasizes that speaking less, thinking less, and socializing less are not about narrowing life, but expanding the inner world. When words decrease, we hear more clearly the voice within. When thoughts quiet down, the path ahead becomes clearer. When relationships become refined, we recognize the true value of human connection. This is the journey back to simplicity, where simplicity holds profound strength and wisdom. Chapter 1. Speaking less in daily life. People are often accustomed to speaking a great deal. We speak to share, to assert ourselves, to seek sympathy, or to fill the silence. But the more we speak, the more we lose the subtlety of words. A careless sentence can wound, create misunderstanding, or even destroy a relationship. That is why in mindfulness practice, we are often reminded to cultivate the art of speaking less. Speaking less does not mean total silence or coldness. It is the art of restraint and choosing words that bring benefit. The fewer words we utter, the more precious they become. Like rare jewels, they gain value through scarcity. A simple, heartfelt word can soothe a suffering heart. A brief yet compassionate reminder can lift someone from despair. Speaking less is not to appear mysterious or wise, but to create the space to listen more. When we are no longer caught in the whirlpool of speech, we begin to notice the small sounds of life. The song of birds in the morning, the rustling of wind in the trees, the footsteps of loved ones in the house. And most importantly, we hear the voice within ourselves, long buried under the world's noise and our own. Speaking less preserves energy. Talking excessively not only exhausts listeners, but drains the speaker too. Each word requires the mind, emotions, and body to exert effort. This is why after long, pointless conversations, we often feel depleted without any benefit gained. In contrast, when we practice speaking less, we conserve energy for creativity, work, or simply enjoying silence. In modern society, speaking less has become even more precious. On social media, people talk endlessly, leaving comments under every post, sharing and arguing about everything. But the more noise there is, the less value words have. Amid thousands of floating sentences, what is truth, wisdom, or compassion? If we know when to speak less and remain silent, our words become a light amidst a sea of chaos. When someone listens, they find our words refreshing, like a rare cool breeze. Speaking less is tied to humility. Those who talk much are often tempted to display themselves, to prove their knowledge or status. But those who speak less let their actions speak. Instead of praising themselves with words, they let their work and character shine. Humility earns deeper respect. In history, many sages are remembered not for speaking much, but because the few words they spoke held timeless value. A true teacher may utter only a handful of sentences, yet disciples remember them for life. By speaking less, we create space for listening and understanding. Others feel our genuine presence, knowing we are not interrupting to boast or argue but to truly hear them. Such silence becomes the most valuable gift we can offer. In a world where everyone wants to speak, the person who listens becomes the most loved and trusted. However, true speaking less requires mindfulness. If we stay silent only out of shyness or fear, that silence is not peace. But if we remain silent because we see no need to add words, then silence is wisdom. Sometimes we want to argue to win, but upon reflection, we realize victory in words is less important than preserving love. So we remain silent and smile, the silence of compassion. Other times, We are tempted to join a crowd condemning someone, but we stop and realize another harsh word only fuels the fire. So we remain silent, the silence of kindness. And sometimes, sitting alone, filled with things to express, we realize we don't need to say them all. We simply breathe deeply and smile to ourselves. The silence of self-understanding. Speaking less is not easy. It requires daily training. We begin by observing our speech, asking, is this word necessary? Does it bring joy, understanding, or peace? If not, we try silence. At first, it feels uncomfortable, but gradually we adjust. We can also listen more in conversations, spending more time hearing than speaking. This builds patience and compassion. Speaking less opens the door to tranquility. As words decrease, the mind calms. Outer quiet nurtures inner quiet. And within that silence, wisdom blossoms. Chapter 2. Thinking less. Humans habitually think without pause. From waking to sleeping, our minds race with thousands of ideas, plans, worries, memories, and imaginings. These streams of thought resemble a rushing river, sometimes calm, sometimes sweeping everything away, leaving us exhausted. Thinking much is not equal to wisdom. In fact, overthinking easily traps us in circles. A small issue becomes magnified. A fleeting worry turns into obsession. This is why mindfulness practice emphasizes the art of thinking less. Thinking less does not mean shutting down the mind. The brain is made to think, and thinking allows creativity, planning, and problem solving. But when thoughts run wild, they control us. We become servants of thought, not masters. Thinking less is learning to think only when needed, to think clearly, then let the mind rest. Just as the body needs sleep, the mind needs silence. You may have experienced nights of tossing and turning, the mind replaying past events or worrying about tomorrow. The harder you try to push thoughts away, the stronger they return. The result is sleeplessness, fatigue, and exhaustion. This shows uncontrolled thinking not only fails to help but steals vitality. Thinking less is learning to stop, realizing many problems need not be solved immediately. Many questions have no answer yet. By letting go, solutions often appear naturally. Thinking less brings us back to the present. When the mind is caught in past or future, we lose the now. A delicious meal becomes tasteless if eaten with worries about work. A conversation with family becomes meaningless if our thoughts are elsewhere. But by releasing excess thought, we return to the present moment, savoring food, truly listening, feeling each breath. This is happiness.to. Think less. We practice mindfulness. When unnecessary thoughts arise, we pause and breathe deeply, recognizing this is just a thought, not reality. We don't need to chase it. At first, thoughts will return, but with persistence, their power fades. The mind grows calm, like a lake no longer rippling. Thinking less fosters clarity. Fewer but sharper thoughts make wiser decisions. A mind cluttered with worries cannot see essence, but a calm mind sees simply, directly. Like a tidy room, everything is in place. Thinking less sharpens intelligence. Thinking less nurtures peace. Without chasing every thought, we feel lighter. Stress dissolves. Smiles arise easily. Those who think less radiate serenity, comforting others. They are like a cool stream soothing heat. In today's world, thinking less is vital. Surrounded by endless information, phones, media, news, we take in thousands of inputs daily. Without restraint, we drown. Thinking less means choosing, keeping what matters, discarding the rest. We need not remember everything, comment on every event, or join every debate. We keep what truly serves life and spiritual growth. Thinking less is not avoidance, but recognizing that often what we need is not more thought, but more silence. In silence, we understand ourselves and see the essence of things. This is true wisdom. Chapter 3. Socializing less. Humans are social beings. We need connection, love, and sharing to survive and grow. But not all connections bring value. In modern life, people often mistake having more friends and endless relationships as success. They plunge into parties, gatherings, and ceaseless networking, only to feel empty inside. In truth, socializing less preserves energy, calm, and inner depth. Socializing less does not mean closing off. It is selection. We need not attend meaningless gatherings where talk revolves around trivialities, and our presence leaves no trace. Socializing less allows us to focus on truly important relationships, where there is understanding and genuine support. A simple meal with family has far greater value than a lavish feast among acquaintances seeking to show off. When we socialize less, we return inward. Loneliness is not an enemy, but a friend. In silence, we converse with ourselves, listen to the soul, reflect on the past, and see clearly our true desires, rather than being pulled by the crowd. Those who live peacefully alone never fear solitude, for they find completeness within. Socializing less conserves energy. Every conversation and relationship consumes spirit. Spread too thin, we have little left for meaningful bonds. But by choosing, we invest in those who matter, deepening connections. One true friend outweighs 100 superficial ties. Today, many chase social activity to prove themselves, to avoid being left out, to show recognition. But the more we seek external approval, the more we lose inner connection. Socializing less reminds us that true value lies not in quantity, but quality of relationships. True happiness is not having hundreds of greetings online, but a few friends who will answer in times of need. Socializing less shields the soul. Excess contact invites comparison, envy, and judgment. We hear about others, gossip, and slowly absorb negativity. But by stopping, we preserve inner clarity. We need not join every conversation, appear at every event, or prove existence by constant presence. Quiet presence itself affirms our being. Those who socialize less are often calm. They don't rush to speak in noisy chatter. They listen, observe, and speak only when needed. Their words carry weight and depth. A sincere sentence from them touches hearts more than 100 hollow phrases. Paradoxically, socializing less makes us more attractive. People become curious, wanting to know more. By not exposing ourselves easily, we preserve mystery and privacy, protecting inner life. This is wisdom, knowing when and where to appear. Socializing less does not mean rejecting joy. We may still meet friends and join some gatherings, but within limits. We don't let ourselves drown in meaningless parties or lose precious quiet time. We balance outer life and inner life. And in balance, we find peace. When we speak less, think less, and socialize less, we don't become isolated, we become free. Free from the chains of words, the domination of thoughts, the pressures of society. And with freedom, we truly live, love, and find peace. Conclusion: life is turbulent, and people endlessly seek happiness, but the more they search outside, the more weary they become. The more they speak, the more noise arises. The more they think, the more they are trapped in circles. The more they socialize, the more they lose inner freedom. The true path is simple: speak less, think less, and socialize less. Speak less to preserve energy. Words must hold value, be constructive, and arise from mindfulness. Speaking less teaches us to listen, understand, and be humble. Words then become gifts, not weapons. Think less to rest the mind. Releasing excess thought frees us from invisible burdens. We no longer overanalyze or fear what hasn't arrived. We focus on the present, breath, and what is here. With calm, wisdom shines. Socialize less for a lighter life. Instead of draining ourselves in shallow meetings, we devote time to family, close friends, and those who truly care. Socializing less preserves privacy, nurtures strength, and fosters sincerity. This path does not make us closed or aloof. It helps us live truly, deeply, and with quality. The one who speaks less has pure words. The one who thinks less has a serene mind. The one who socializes less has an open heart for what matters. This is the way to peace, not by running outward, but by returning inward. Remember, happiness lies not in how much we have, but in how much we let go. not in how many people we connect with, but in how deeply we connect with ourselves. When we speak less, think less, and socialize less, we discover the silence always present within us. And in that silence, we find freedom.